Look like I'm in the dark. Can't tell. There's my Grogu from Star of Mandalorian. Hello, everybody. Hi, Hardee's. I am having lighting issues. I don't know what's going on right now. Daylight savings time, we'll blame it on that. Hopefully, I don't look too washed out. But hello. This is my reaction. My reaction to episode 3 of When Calls the Hearts. But before I even mention that, I have to mention that. Before I mention that, I have to mention that. That's a sentence. I swear I have education. I went to college. I have a doctorate. I do. Jack Wagner, double duty this week. He was on the talk today with two of his bold and beautiful co-stars, Kathleen Kelly Lang and Don Diamont. He is returning to the role, one of the roles that made him famous on Daytime, Nick, and he will be playing on the special episode this Thursday on The Bold and the Beautiful. We get to see him, and he mentioned When Calls the Hearts. They showed a clip, a still. They mentioned his day job, they said. So I'm so glad. I was wondering if they were going to mention it. I'm like, you're going to mention When Calls the Heart on Hallmark Channel? And they did. So Hardee's got a little mention out there. I cheered for that. But it's fun seeing him go back to a role. He was Frisco on General Hospital. He was on Santa Barbara. He was on Melrose Place. He has a long career. And his song, which he sang a piece of, All I Need. Yeah, my voice isn't ready for that. My voice is a little off today too because allergies. I've been in my garden. My garden is blooming and blossoming. It looks beautiful out there. And so I've been out there doing that. And I talk a lot. So here's some of my reactions to the show that was titled Turn the Page. Her book is out, Elizabeth's book. It is out. A Single Mother on the Frontier. What's funny is I want a copy. I want a real copy. I want it. Did you want it? I want it too. What's funny is I release books. I'm a writer myself. I put books out myself. And it's funny to hear, because this show is always about being relatable to today, that some problems are just, they've been around forever, right? And getting bad reviews, that's hilarious. It's like, I understand that. It's getting bad. I got a bad review today on one of my shows. And I just was like, okay, get a bad review. Then you get that one good review that Rosemary read to her towards the end. And as she says, that's what I count. I was trying to imagine if they had social media back then, or let's say before that, if they had tabloids back then. Oh my goodness, that'd be that, yeah. So, but bad reviews are bad reviews. That's something that's just been around for a long time. And how she talks about, because I know personally what it feels like whenever I do these shows, how people will sometimes personally attack you. But an interesting, like I said, What Calls Art always knows how to do, modern time with old time and how some things never change. Another thing too, I noticed the town is growing. I feel it every episode this season. I feel like it's I say it every week, but that's my note. It's like, it just looks expansive, and they're showing more cars and the fruit stand over there. And I saw some more black folks in the corner. It's like, it was so fun. Like, I'm feeling the energy of this show going through time and actually expanding. And when Elizabeth said, and it's what she's been there for almost a decade. Oh, wait a minute. The show wasn't the movie 2003 or something? You guys will tell me because you guys know better than I do. Because I didn't come, not 2003, 13 or 14. I became aware of When Girls Are Hard, 2016, 15, 16. So I'm like, it's kind of like, wait a minute, we're kind of getting this, but it's been a while, hasn't it? Wow. And we're almost on a 10th season. So it is coming up. Like, this is actually very interesting. And we've made it through a pandemic too. So that's kind of fun. But you tell the town is growing. So it's adding more things. And another thing that really got me is Henry Gowan. This season, he's much more reflective. And he's much more deliberate in what he's not doing. Isn't that funny? His storyline arc from when he started to now, very different. And his time away taught him some stuff. He's really evaluating everything. And his talks with Lucas have been very interesting about you want to come, you're going to stay on, is Gowan patrolling us? Like what's going on? You guys are kind of in control of what's going on. And I think he's learning, and I guess talking to Abigail off camera, for us off camera, it's very interesting that he's going through it, which makes sense for someone of middle age, right? I'm of middle age. I've made changes in my life. But you start just looking at your life as a whole. So I think so. His storyline is very interesting to me. Like what's he gonna do? Is he pulling out? He seems less combative. But my thought, which was interesting and timely, and I think it just makes sense, having Faith be his doctor now because Carson's gone, and how he declined a physical. And, she has to overcome that. I mean, back then, that's just like, sure. I mean, I have people to this day. I have my daughter only has female doctors. She will not have a male doctor. And I know men the same way. So for me, it doesn't matter to me. I used to work in nursing, so I know doctors. It doesn't matter to me. But for some people, it's very much a comfort thing and a trust thing. And you should be able to trust your doctor. That's number one, right? So, but we usually see Faith as she goes through that, like they did at the barbershop last season. It's like there's growing pains, there's stuff changing. So that's very interesting. There's a book signing, of course. The whole town is reading the book, of course. I love that Ned his head was literally the book the whole episode. He was totally into it. Of course, Molly, of course, you would think that Juliet in the book was about her. And I had a feeling it was Julie, it was her, Elizabeth's sister. I had a feeling that because Molly was being so her usual over topness, that it would be about her. It's going to be about Julie. I decided, and they confirmed that later. Faye started reading it because there's a doctor in there too. So for Elizabeth, she was saying it's a love letter to all of you. And that's why I laughed when Rosemary was like, at first, and she knows she's my girl. At first, I was a little, I'm not in the book. I didn't, especially what she says. She goes, at first, I wrote it down. I was surprised there wasn't a character in the book that I inspired, but then I realized, how could you capture all of my essence in a supporting role? That made me chuckle. That's so Rosemary. But she's very supportive as always. One of the best friends. I'm so glad they're friends again, right? Aren't you glad? I'm so glad they're friends again. But it's also seeing Elizabeth vulnerable with Lucas. They're really showing them have their slow kind of grind of really falling in love and getting together. It's funny. She didn't want to see anybody. She wanted to kind of almost wallow in the reviews. It's hard. When you get bad reviews, it's hard. It's hard. And Lucas was very sweet. And it was kind of like a funny, sweet thing going on. People are arriving below. They're on the top part where I remember last season, he was always up there having his tea looking down on Main Street. She has a line where she says, when she's there first, it's so interesting. This time I'm up here brooding, looking down on Main Street. I thought that is interesting. They kind of reversed. Eventually, he has to tell her that there's people downstairs waiting. And I chuckled when she was like, you think Rosemary culture can put on a performance. I'm just gonna pretend I didn't know. And when she walked in, oh my God, really? Rosemary's face, when she dropped her face like, I literally cackled out loud. I just started busting up. I was like, oh my God. That made me laugh because it was so over the top. And later they laughed about it, of course. But it was Rosemary's face when she was like, you know how your friends are, and you get it. She's like, oh my God, for me, really? That was hilarious. Now, earlier in the episode, because we can't not talk about it, I've been seeing some stuff online, when Nathan walks up to get his book signed and says, make it out to the one that got away. So they're still doing this jokey thing, kind of, and pushing them to be friends. And Lucas, which again, I told you last time, I'm very interested in seeing how this Lucas-Nathan friendship is happening. Now they're becoming three friends, so to speak. And they're kind of settling that up. So I think it's very interesting the way they're doing it with humor. I think it's very interesting, and I'm curious to see if you guys are okay with that or not, because the other side of that is this Me Sue situation, and possibly Faith. Is Faith looking at Nathan too? You know, she called Carson, and Carson, when he couldn't get to the phone, he's busy in the hospital. I was like, is there a triangle happening there? I wasn't sure. If I'm seeing it wrong, just tell me. I might be seeing it wrong. But I was like, or is she just concerned? I mean, I don't know what's going on. It's like, something going on there. But with Me Sue, as we're going to find out, apparently she has some issues going on from the trailer, from the preview from the trailer. But I see sparks between her and Nathan. So it's interesting, this kind of, on one side, I'm just going to kind of be jokey with Elizabeth and kind of try to move into a friendship. This side, I think he's starting to look at her like, who that? Who that is? He's starting to look at her a little bit. I mean, she's beautiful. Amanda Wong's great, so we love her, of course. Watch our interview with her. If you missed it, we have an interview with her here on JLJ Media. You listen to it or watch it. So him and Me Sue are going through stuff, kind of bonding over Newton, because Nathan and Newton aren't really bonding. And I was going to say this because I love horses and stuff, and horses sense your essence and feelings. They sense it, and they can feel uncomfortable. And the horses are just wonderful animals. I love them. A big equine person. But so far, it's Me Sue and him and the horse are really bonding. And and she said something that's very interesting. You guys went through physical trauma together, but also emotional trauma together. And remember, Nathan still can't remember what exactly happened. So there's that going on. And I think that makes sense. I love that. It completely makes sense. Completely makes sense. They start kind of bonding. He was short there at first, came around. She's putting like a little stop to a few things herself because she wants to, I guess, take care of some business of her own, so we're going to find out of her own. Other things, Lee and Rosemary are affected by all this because the newspaper, and now he's managing editor, he's writing. Apparently his writing is very different than Rosemary's, and that whole scene was so awkward in a great way. Kevin and my girl Pascal have such natural chemistry, whether they're fighting, laughing, joking, or together in scenes, it just works. And her trying to find the polite way to say things to not piss him off, but it really kind of hurt his feelings a little bit. He just got, not on purpose, she didn't mean to do anything bad, but how he came back and she decided, no, I'm going to print it, get it out there, and apparently it's sold out. So, but them navigating, I feel this is going to be very interesting for them this whole season, because now they're press. He's new at it. She's newish at it, but she also was in the business, so to speak. So I think it gives her a little edge, but them working together, and she's the boss. So she'll be very interesting to decide. I feel like much of their conflicts going to come from this or some stories or something. Also, we got Bill and Hickam having some moments, and basically at the end, Hickam telling him to get out of the office. It's the mayor's office, and Hickam taking it seriously. Like, it was the first time you actually hear him talk really seriously. Like, and there was no Fiona in this episode, so we didn't get it because she's off, right? But he was serious. Like, I can do this, and he was kind of tired of them looking at him as a joke. And so now we're seeing there's more serious side to Hickam. Maybe he will be good at this. And but when he said to them at the one scene when he was like, "I am smart, I can do this." I was like, "Ooh!" So he proved himself. So I thought it was very interesting. I love that the kids thought the book was boring until she read a part about children in the book, and that was kind of cute. But Cooper continues to have a hard time, and May decides, tells him maybe you and you guys should kind of hang out together. And Joseph, maybe you should hang out together. Maybe that will work and kind of bond with your son. And it turns out it does help a little bit. And kind of funny they put the window in backwards on purpose, and the culture's getting it. But him asking about Angela, and here's the part that warms me up, of course, because again, when Cossar's not shying away from this. Um, when Joseph and Minnie are talking about the kids, because basically Cooper has survivor's guilt, so to speak. They both had measles. She went blind. He didn't. And they talk about how we don't want to tell the kids. We don't want to tell them yet the cruel world that's out there. But we're going to have to tell them when they're able to understand. And I'm telling you right now, as a Black person in America, that's completely what I'm a Black child and a Black parent. I had to go through the same thing with my children and with myself. There's like, we have things we have to think about sometimes that others don't. And I thought, thank you, kudos to Hallmark Channel, Crown Media, Brian Bernabody at the productions of When Calls the Heart to actually relate it to that time period, and give us the lines of, we find a place to breathe. I thought, what a nice feeling it must be to go somewhere and feel like you don't have to worry about such things. I haven't found that place yet here for me, but I do live in an area that I kind of like. I love my home and stuff, but I understand kind of what they're saying and how the delicate balance of what to, and then for any parent, now this can go to any parent of any race and culture background, how much do you share of the real world with your children, and at what time and what age? So to me, it worked on several levels. If you're a person of color, you get it. If you're a parent, period, you get it. It's like this, how do you tell them? And it also, as a person, if you go through something together with somebody and you come out okay, and that person doesn't come out as okay as you, survivor's guilt, like what happened, why me, not her, why her, not me, all makes sense. He's questioning that. Beautiful job, loved it. I completely loved it. Wyman Walden is back, and just slimy as ever, just seemingly. And in French, Lucas is trying to gain his trust and set him up. Nobody's happy with him being in town. Other little tidbits. Flo more funny, of course. They were trying to figure out who's in the book and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of fun. And I love how Florence was like sauntering around while Faith was on the phone. And also when Nathan asked where Ned was and asked about the pharmacist, which was Mei Sou, she had her 2 cents. And he said, I'm not looking for courtship as of yet. And I know she was kind of like just hanging out. It's kind of like, okay. Mm-hmm. That's her job. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Gustav, who is the chef and everything, cooked for Lucas at the saloon, but also it's his cousin, right? And he says that's why he's still employed. I love them too. He's so funny. Oh my God, he's just so funny with Lucas. I think that's everything. If I missed anything, you guys can let me know. But I think I caught everything. Yeah, I think I caught everything. Like I said, just a quick. I mean, I know you guys missed us doing the the recaps, but this is what I can do for you now. I'll give you my reactions. I talked to Melissa. We're gonna get some guests for the show, of course. I wanted the season to kind of start and get going before I brought more guests on, because I'm kind of like, I don't know what the storylines are yet. Now I'm kind of getting the idea of the storylines. So that's why, yeah, doing that. But we'll have some more guests on, of course. Thank you for watching. You make these shows that I do very successful for my network, JLJ Media. You do it by one of two ways. One is the audio version, which thank you, audio listeners, for listening. I really appreciate it. You make it a huge hit for us on audio podcasts. We are everywhere: Apple, Spotify, Google, Deezer, whatever, iHeartRadio. Find us under When Calls the Heart Aftershow. Then, of course, YouTube channel, JLJ Media. When Calls the Heart, it was number 2 show last week. Number 1 show before. You all Hardys are just amazing. Thanks to the Facebook groups, let me share this. Thanks to the hashtags everywhere. And I will talk to you soon. I'm at James Lott Jr. everywhere. See you next time. Bye, Hardys.